Yeah, you can take me there.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and in this video I'm going to be building an awesome gaming PC build for 2021 and 2022. In this video I'll be running you through all of the components that I selected and why, showing you how you can go about getting your hands on them in the current climate before putting the system together and testing out its performance. We'll be testing over 15 of the most popular and latest AAA titles so you guys can get a great idea of how well this system performs. Let's dive into the build after a quick ad from today's video sponsor. Ebuyer is your one-stop shop for PC hardware and gaming gear here in the UK. With great deals on some of the latest tech you won't want to miss out. Check out the UK links to all components in this video below at Ebuyer. Plus, if you want to see more of me, take a look at their YouTube channel where I've been guest presenting a wide range of videos. From the latest tech to PC components and gear to supercharge your setup, check out Ebuyer using the very first links in the description below. As you might have guessed from the case choice in this build, I'm actually going for a slightly smaller form factor system, built inside the awesome NZXT H210, one of my favourite cases of this year that we actually featured in a top 10 case roundup video. Now, in order to build a small form factor system, we need a small form factor motherboard. The MSI B550i Gaming Edge Wi-Fi is an awesome choice. This runs on Ryzen, so supports DDR4 memory, has a little bit of overclocking headroom, and supports the latest super fast PCIe Gen 4 SSDs. You don't get quite as snazzy as a feature set as what you'll find with the new Intel 12th gen chips, but it does come in cheaper, which is definitely a big selling point. This board is such an adorable little motherboard, but still has all the features we could possibly want. I'm going to be pairing this up with the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. This is one of my favourite CPUs of the last year and a half. And while I'm not a huge fan of the price rise that we saw on the 5600X over its predecessor, the 3600X, it still performs incredibly well. 6 cores, 12 threads and great clock speeds make it a perfect all-rounder for a gaming-oriented build. Want a bit more multi-threaded performance? Jump up to a Ryzen 7 or check out some of the new 12th gen releases which are rumoured to be fairly competitive. Installing a CPU into any build is pretty simple, but AMD go a step further, making it nice and easy for us. Grab your processor and find the golden triangle. This all-important triangle is what we're going to match up on our motherboard socket. So here you can see we've got a triangle just in the top left-hand corner. It really is as simple as lining up the triangles, pulling your attention arm up and dropping the processor in. Nice and gently with AMD, there's no force or pressure before popping the arm down. It really is super simple. While we're on the subject of the motherboard, we can install the RAM nice and easily. This right here is a 16GB kit of Corsair's Vengeance RGB RT. If you wanted to future-proof this build a bit more, you could get one 16GB DIMM instead, or go for 32 gigs out the doors. But for us today, 16 is going to work well. Sometimes people get so obsessed with future-proofing a build, they forget about giving it good performance now. And having 2 memory DIMMs will definitely give us a little bit of extra frame rate. Plus, this RAM having a nice white aesthetic really ties in with the white 210i that I've picked up for this system. Simply pull back the 2 notches on the end of your RAM DIMMs on the left-hand side. Find the Vengeance logo and have this facing outwards away from the processor, line up the DIMM and apply a bit of pressure and it will install nicely into place. Simply repeat this for as many RAM DIMMs as you've got, in our case just the 2, and your RAM is nicely installed. The final component then to install into the motherboard before we move this into the case is our storage. This is a 1TB NVMe drive from WD, the Black SN850. Gen 4 drives have been really expensive, but WD appear to be breaking that trend with this awesome value alternative. Read speeds are great in the region of 7 GB a second. That's right, you can basically read 100 GB in around about 15 seconds on this drive. That's crazy. But also you do get good write speeds. Not quite as good as something like Seagate's FireCuda 530 or the XPG Blade drives, but still in the region of about 5.5 gigabytes per second, which is pretty impressive. To install our WD Black drive, you will need to pick yourself up a teeny tiny little screwdriver to actually go ahead and remove this little heatsink up top. Remove the heatsink with a really small screwdriver before lining the drive up and fastening it down into place. Return the heatsink back on and you've got active cooling for your Gen 4 drive and an aesthetic which looks actually nice and clean. That brings us nicely on to the next component today, the case. Now, I've talked about the 210i quite a bit actually in today's video so far, but I've got to say, this case really won me over last year, the first time I used it. I originally picked up the black and red version, but since then, NZXT offered to send out the white one, and you guys know that I'm a sucker for a good white case, even if it still does have a black interior. One of the reasons I like the 210i so much is that it actually is quite conventional in its form factor. You still get support for full-size ATX power supplies, and it looks basically like a normal NZXT case that's just been shrunken down in Photoshop to 40% size. Forget honey, I shrunk the kids, it's honey, I shrunk the case. It does mean that it's quite big for an ITX chassis, but I don't mind that, and it's still a lot more compact than something like their own 510 or 710, which are much larger options. There's no real glamorous or sleek way to unbox a case, so I'll be right back with you in a couple of seconds when the 210i is nicely out of the box. And there we have it. I've got to say I absolutely love this case, and of course crucially for this build, we have actually got support for a radiator up front. That means we can actually pop a little bit of water cooling into today's system to help out with our temperatures, but mainly the aesthetic. We've got a really cool liquid cooler from NZXT, but before we do any of that, I need to stop embarrassing myself and try and remove this bleeding case side panel. What is going on? Oh, there we go. Just need a little bit more welly, as we'd say here in the UK, and then we can go ahead and install our motherboard. Now, of course, this motherboard's super easy to install. It's ITX, there's only 4 holes, 1 on each corner, and these will just line up with the corresponding standoffs in our case. Go ahead and screw the motherboard in, and then we can move on to that CPU cooler I discussed just a second ago. Specifically, this is NZXT's Kraken Z53. Now, I'll be the first to admit, this is a tiny bit high-end for this system. It's actually got a screen on, something Corsair have just caught up with as well, actually. NZXT have been doing this a little while, and it comes paired with their fantastic NZXT CAM software, which provides genuinely industry-leading customization as to what you can actually show on this display. You can even rotate the display as well in the NZXT software, so don't worry about the orientation for now. This video isn't going to be like a full detailed build guide, but essentially, make sure you refer to your manual and start things off always with your cooler by installing the radiator. Installing the radiator first will hold it into place and allow you to deal with the actual cooler portion that little bit easier. We will need to take off the front panel of the case in order to do this and remove any existing fans. Thankfully for us, we've only got a fan at the back and the top, so these can stay, and we can just have these 120s at the front. Beware, of course, that having a radiator at the front here will impede upon GPU clearance, but that isn't a problem for us because we're going for a slightly smaller GPU, which is our next component we're going to deal with. But for now, let's finish off the cooler. Screw that radiator in and then fasten the water block down around the CPU itself. Nice and easy, nice and simple, and NZXT actually have this installation process down to a T. Nicely done. So I've had to sort of loop the tubes around a little bit because they're a little bit too long otherwise, so hopefully that won't impede too much on the screen. We can deal with that problem later though, because for now we need to install the graphics card. This right here is NVIDIA's RTX 3060Ti Founders Edition. Now you can also go for something like a normal 3060, though there isn't a Founders Edition, and I wanted to go for something silver/white to actually match the aesthetic of this build. I've actually ordered a white RTX 3080 Ti, which is going to arrive soon, for an all-white build, but make sure you get subscribed for that, because this video is not that video, as you probably realised. This though is an awesome card for gaming at 1080 and 1440p, as we'll show you guys in the benchmarks a little bit later. It's got NVIDIA's weird proprietary power connector and performs super well. I love the Founders design of cards, although they're seemingly impossible to get your hands on. Even harder to get hold of than AIB cards from the likes of MSI, Asus and GeekaWhat. Latest pricing and availability though on all components can be found below, and if you'd like to learn more about the GPU crises, check out a couple of videos we've made recently in the cards now and linked in the description below. Installing the GPU in this build super easy. Push back that retention clip, slide the card in, and as you can see, it fits absolutely perfectly. There is a little bit of spare clearance as well, but not too much. In fact, proportionally, it's basically perfect. Make sure you screw the GPU in nice and tight, because if it sags, it will struggle on the airflow front. So go ahead and fasten that down with this little cover at the back. Use the thumb screws that you get included, and you're good to go. Once that's in, we can move on and give everything power with our power supply choice. NZXT C750. This is an awesome fully modular power supply that's going to work perfectly in the 210. One of the big advantages of this case is that it doesn't need an SFX power supply, aka an expensive smaller form factor unit. it actually works with standard ATX units. The NZXT lineup of power supplies are pretty premium. You do pay a bit more money for them, but all your cables come in this nice packaged bag, and your power supply comes wrapped up in this cover as well. You might want to drop down to 650 watt. They do a C650, which will be a bit cheaper and will also work well, but for the sake of future-proofing, overclocking, all that sort of stuff, I thought 750 was a worthy upgrade. Plus, it doesn't really cost you all that much more money. Go ahead and locate all of your fully modular connectors on the power supply itself and plug up cables for the CPU, motherboard and GPU. If you'd like to see a full cables and wiring guide, check out a recent build guide that we made. But for now, I'm going to screw this in, get it connected up, and then boot our PC up for the first time to see how good it looks in an epic glam montage before we move on to the performance and the benchmarks. I'll see you in a sec, but first, roll that bloody montage. Now that we've seen how good the system looks, it's time to dive into the performance and see just how well this gaming PC performs. As usual, we've tested a wide variety of titles to give you guys a really consistent picture of the frame rates that you can come to expect regardless of the game you're playing. At 1440p high settings in Grand Theft Auto 5, we managed to achieve 131 frames a second. The inbuilt benchmarking mode makes this a really repeatable test, so give it a go and see what results you can achieve on your current system. Watch Dogs Legion is next up. Here at 1440p high, our 3060 Ti showed up in a big way. 81 frames per second on average, with 77 and 75 for the 90 and the 99th percentile results. Moving on to Call of Duty's Black Ops Cold War, the multiplayer zombies mode, at 1440p high settings we managed to achieve 109 frames per second. 90 and 79 for the 90 and 99th percentile results complemented a really great performance stack, and this was tested with ray tracing and DLSS disabled. Moving on to Apex Legends then, the next game on our list today, and one of, if not the most popular title around right now. 1440p high gave us 122 frames per second with 105 and 95 for the 90 and 99th percentile results. All of the frame rates, as usual, were tested with both Nvidia's FrameView and MSI Afterburner's Reaver Tuner. Moving on to Valorant, this is the next title today, and a game where frame rate is very high always. This system is no exception. 1440p high settings gave us 360 frames per second on average, with 90 and 99th percentile results that never drop below the 242 frames per second mark. Moving on to Cyberpunk next up then, here we tested it out at 1440p medium settings with ray tracing and DLSS enabled. Nvidia's ray tracing tech looks great in Cyberpunk, and DLSS helps to combat any performance hit that it might give you. 62 frames per second on average at 1440p medium settings was not half bad for a game that is undoubtedly incredibly difficult to run. What about something like Fortnite though? If Apex isn't the game to beat, Fortnite certainly is. It's still so popular even now, like 2-3 years after its first release. And at 250 frames per second, this system performs in Fortnite incredibly well. That's 1080p competitive settings, so everything tuned down to low, but the render distance set to far. Finally then, the last game today is Call of Duty's Warzone. Here at 1440p high settings, we achieved just shy of 90 frames per second on average. Not half a bad result from COD Warzone. And with that, that pretty much wraps up not only the gaming benchmarks today, but the whole video. If you enjoyed this one, give it a big old like rating, make sure to get subscribed. Thanks for tuning in though, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.